Where's Daisy? Where's Daisy? Should we go find some more? Yeah? Okay, let's go this way. Come on. Should I check out these ones? Okay. These are porcini mushrooms. You can tell because it looks like a hamburger bun. That's how you can tell when they're porcini mushrooms. Just push them over. And underneath that yellow part is all the gills. Now if you're ever out mushroom hunting, make sure you remove those before you go taking them home, or they'll make your whole mushroom mushy. Mushroom mushy? But yeah, that is a porcini mushroom. They can even get bigger than this. They can get giant dinner plate size. But that's a good size right there. Now this mushroom is normally bright red when it first comes up. This is not a mushroom you even want to touch. This is a highly hallucinogenic mushroom. When they first come up, they remind me of Smurf houses. So we don't even come close to touching that kind. Let's go find some more. Come on. This is one of those highly hallucinogenic mushrooms as it's popping out of the ground. Kind of creepy looking. You don't even touch it and then lick your finger. Okay. So we keep hunting? Yeah. Let's go back. Now, these porcini mushrooms tend to grow underneath spruce trees where it's nice and wet. That's just where they tend to like to grow.
gonna run into it. Nope, wrong one.
This one's the biggest one of the day. And you always tell because of the odd gills on the bottom. They're different than the others. I'll show you later. Here she is! You little daisy bones! Okay, before we go taking these porcini mushrooms home, we've learned to degill them first because it lets you know if they're buggy or if they're good, and plus it makes them not get all soggy by the time you get them home. It's super simple. Pop the stem, just throw it over the edge. The little rodents and whatnot up here will eat it, no problem. And then you just peel back the gills. It's rather simple. The gills just pop right off. Yeah, a little bit of the mushroom comes with it too, but that's okay. You just fling it over the edge. This will tell you if the mushroom's any good or not, because you can't tell by looking at them. You have to pop the gills. Just like so. And as you can tell, this one is not buggy, not funky, no ick to it at all. It just needs to be washed, of course. Which I'll do when I get home. For now, I'm going to stick it in a Ziploc. Then I'll wash them really good and stick them in the dehydrator. So I'm going to move on to the rest of these mushrooms. Make sure they're not icky and buggy. As long as they all look like that one, I'll take them home. If not, then I'll just toss them over the edge and the little animals out here will eat them. Because that's how you know, one of the reasons you know that this mushroom is safe for humans to eat is it's got little nibble marks on it from the deer and the chipmunks and the squirrels and whatever rodents that are up here all like to nibble on them. So that's one of the ways we know that this one's edible, is it has little nibble marks on it. So anything that I toss over the edge isn't really wasted. All the animals will come out and eat it later. So I'm going to move on to the rest of them. This mushroom is also one that's okay for people to eat. Let me switch the focus on my camera. This one is called hawk's wings. Now they normally get bigger than this. This is the one of the more harder mushrooms to find up here. They're far and few between. You find more porcinis than hawk's wings. Now if you notice, it looks like it has little feathers. These parts kind of look like feathers. Now it's a little more defined on the bigger ones, but this one is a good one. So we're going to grab this one. But yes, this one is called hawk's wings, and it's good for people to eat. It's okay for people to eat. It's not poisonous like that one is right there. That one is highly hallucinogenic. We don't touch those. But this one is called hawk's wings, and it kind of folds and looks like a hawk when it gets bigger. Now, if they're completely black, that means they're old, and we're not going to touch those ones. So this one, we're going to grab. Just like so. And see, it's got little funky gills on the bottom. Kind of creepy looking, in my opinion. But again, we're going to take the gills off of these two before we take them home. You just take something and do a little scrape on them. And that's how we're going to get rid of those gills. So this one is called hawk's wings, because it kind of looks like feathers on it. So let's go find some more. Should we go find some more? Should we go find some more mushrooms? Okay, let's go find some more mushrooms. 'Cause 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 ' Here is a bigger hawkswing. You can see a little more of how it looks like it has feathers. That's how you can tell that it's hawkswings. Now when they're super dark, they're not so good. This is a Hawkswing 2, but as you can tell, it is super old. When it's really dark like that, we don't touch it. It's just not tasty at all. But this one's a pretty good one. As you see, it's not black like the others. Now these Hawkswings mushrooms are a bit easier to clean than the porcini mushrooms, although the gills do look a little creepier. All you do is take my knife here, and we're just gonna scrape it just like that, and the gills just sort of fling off. We're just gonna scrape off as much as possible. Doesn't have to be completely, just as much as possible, because that soaks up the moisture, and then I end up with soggy, icky mushrooms on the way home that I have to deal with when I get home. And it also lets you know if this mushroom is any good. If you see a bunch of pinholes in the mushroom, that means it's buggy and you don't want it. So that's another reason why we're trying to get rid of the gills before we bag them up. So I'm going to take them home and stick them all in the dehydrator. And then we're also going to take the stem, give it a trim, take a look at it. No pinholes, no funkiness. That means this one's not that buggy, or not buggy at all. Not that buggy. I'm going to trim the edge off before I stick it in the dehydrator, because the edge is a little dry. We just want to get as much off as possible for now, and then I'll clean them really good when I get home before they go in the dehydrator. So that's a Hawkswings. A cleaned Hawkswings. Good girl. He's trying to get out, tuck it out. No. Stay. This kind of cluster of mushrooms you see here are oyster mushrooms. That's how you can tell they're oyster mushrooms, is they're a cluster. That's the way they come up out of the ground. Because if you move some of the pine needles here, you can see how they're coming up. Now, the gills on these ones are completely different from the other two. I'll show you once I get some up. And we're going to de-gill these ones too before we pack them up in a bag. But these are oyster mushrooms. Now these oyster mushrooms range in several different sizes, but you clean them all the same way. You take your knife, and you're just going to trim up the stem. Check it out. Make sure it's not woody. If I can get my shadow out of the way. And then you just take your knife and you just scrape. Now some are a little drier than others, but that's okay. If they won't come off, we'll just leave it. I'll take care of it when I get home. But the ones that are a little younger, just take a knife and flake them off. Why am I taking off the gills again? Because they'll soak up moisture and make them funky on the way home. And plus, it takes you down to the mushroom to make sure that they're not full of bugs. Because they are wild mushrooms, you never know, they might be full of bugs. And we don't need to cart those all the way home. Just clean it off as best you can. Trim the stem. Now these oyster mushrooms tend to like grassy areas where it stays nice, cool, and wet all the time. And they're always in clusters. You'll find them in big clusters and small clusters in these grassy, wooded areas that stay nice and cool. So that's all I'm going to do to this mushroom. I'm going to move on to the others because I got that one and I got that one to do. But that is the 3 mushrooms that are good to eat up here. Oyster mushrooms, porcini mushrooms, and hawk's wings mushrooms. Now there's another one up here. It looks like a little round golf ball or ping pong ball. It's bright white, but when you look at it really close, it's got little spikes all over it. You don't even joke with that one. It's extremely poisonous. You won't even make it to the hospital. It's called Angel Destroyer. If I ever come across another one, I'll show you. But for now, I'm going to clean all these up, get them in a Ziploc so we can go fishing. Are we done with mushrooms? You ready to go fishing? Let's wiggle your butt in there. All ready to go? Alright, go see if we can catch our fish.